In the hushed corners of existence, where shadows lengthen and the weight of the world presses down, there lies a wisdom as profound as it is unsettling. It's a wisdom born not in ivory towers, but in the crucible of human suffering, forged in the fires of revolution and imprisonment, and whispered from the depths of a soul that wrestled with the darkest questions of life. Fyodor Dostoevsky, that colossus of 19th-century Russian literature, was more than a novelist. He was a cartographer of the human psyche, a prophet of our deepest anxieties, and a philosopher whose insights into freedom, evil, and the search for meaning remain astonishingly relevant, even eerily prescient in our modern age. We often seek solace in easy answers, in the comforting illusions that smooth over life's rough edges. But Dostoevsky offers no such solace. Instead, he invites us into a raw, unflinching examination of what it truly means to be human. A journey that will challenge our assumptions, expose our vulnerabilities, and, if we dare to follow, lead us to a profound understanding of ourselves and the world. This exploration is not for the faint of heart. It delves into the terrifying freedom that separates us from the beasts, the insidious nature of evil that resides not just in external circumstances, but within our own hearts, and the agonizing problem of innocent suffering that has haunted believers and non-believers alike for millennia. Dostoevsky anticipated the existential dread that would define the 20th century, the psychological complexities that Freud would later dissect, and the rise of totalitarian ideologies that would seek to control not just our actions, but our very souls. He lived through a death sentence, the brutal realities of a Siberian prison camp, personal tragedies, and battles with addiction, experiences that infused his philosophical inquiries with an authenticity and visceral power that academic treatises can rarely achieve. He saw the intellectual currents of his time, rationalism, materialism, atheism, and recognized their potential to unravel the very fabric of human morality and spiritual life. He dedicated his genius to warning us, to showing us the abyss that yawned before a civilization that had lost its spiritual compass. What follows is an attempt to distill the essence of Dostoevsky's profound philosophical vision, not as a dry academic lecture, but as a journey through the minds of his unforgettable characters, through the narratives that have captivated and disturbed readers for generations. We will confront the paradox of freedom, the seductive allure of security, the devastating consequences of intellectual pride, and the ultimate redemptive power of love, even in its most sacrificial forms. This is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is an invitation to confront the deepest truths about human nature, to grapple with the eternal questions that have plagued humanity since the dawn of consciousness. Prepare to be unsettled, to be challenged, and perhaps to be profoundly transformed as we delve into the darkest wisdom, the most sacred truths, and the most enduring questions that Dostoevsky left as his legacy. This is the journey into the soul of a genius, and through him, into the very core of what it means to be human. The insidious creep of intellectual pride, a subtle yet pervasive poison, is a cornerstone of Dostoevsky's critique of rationalism and its grip on modern consciousness. Beyond the mere paralysis of action, this intellectual arrogance manifests as a profound detachment from lived experience, a spiritual hubris that believes the complexities of human existence can be neatly dissected and controlled by the intellect alone. Consider the modern tendency to dismiss deeply held traditions or intuitive wisdom as mere superstition, simply because they cannot be empirically verified or logically dissected. This isn't just skepticism. It's often a form of intellectual condescension, a belief that one's own analytical framework is inherently superior to the accumulated, often inarticulable understanding of generations. Such an approach blinds individuals to the possibility that some truths are apprehended not through dissection, but through participation, through an intuitive resonance that transcends mere ratiocination. This intellectual pride, when unchecked, fosters a dangerous isolation, severing individuals from the very wellsprings of meaning and connection that nourish the human spirit. It creates a sterile environment where abstract theories are valued above messy, vibrant reality, and where the lived experience of others is disregarded if it doesn't fit neatly into a pre-approved conceptual box. Building on this, however, Dostoevsky's analysis reveals how this intellectual hubris directly fuels a rejection of genuine human vulnerability. When one believes their intellect has conquered all significant challenges, admitting personal ignorance or the need for help becomes an unbearable admission of defeat. Consequently, individuals often find themselves trapped in a cycle of self-deception, projecting an image of unassailable competence while inwardly grappling with profound insecurity. Think of the academic who dismisses feedback on their work not on its merits, but by subtly undermining the critic's own credentials, a defense mechanism designed to protect a fragile ego convinced of its own infallibility. This intellectual posturing, while appearing confident on the surface, is in fact a desperate attempt to avoid the terrifying possibility of error and the subsequent emotional fallout. It's a denial of the inherent imperfection of the human condition, a refusal to acknowledge that true wisdom often emerges from the admission of what we don't know, rather than the boastful proclamation of what we do. This creates a profound barrier to authentic connection, as genuine intimacy requires the courage to be seen, flaws and all, a vulnerability that intellectual pride actively suppresses. Conversely, Dostoevsky presents a stark contrast in the spiritual humility that allows for true understanding. This humility isn't born of weakness, but of a profound recognition of the limits of human knowledge and the vastness of reality that lies beyond our grasp. It's the understanding that true wisdom often comes not from asserting one's own intellect, but from listening deeply to others, to tradition, and to the subtle promptings of one's own inner life. Imagine encountering a problem that defies all logical solutions. Instead of doubling down on increasingly complex, yet ineffective rationalizations, a humble approach would involve seeking wisdom from unconventional sources, from those whose lived experience might offer insights inaccessible to pure intellect. This might mean consulting an elder with deep roots in traditional knowledge, or even pausing to consider the spiritual dimension of a problem, acknowledging that some forces operate beyond the purely material or rational. Such an attitude fosters a more receptive and open mind, one that is less concerned with proving its own intellectual superiority and more focused on apprehending truth in its multifaceted forms. This receptivity, cultivated through humility, allows for a genuine engagement with the world, fostering deeper connections and a more profound understanding of both oneself and others. This intellectual humility, therefore, is not an impediment to progress, but its most crucial, albeit often overlooked foundation. A crucial element often overlooked in the discourse surrounding rationalism's limitations is its inherent tendency to foster a subtle yet potent form of intellectual isolation. When individuals exclusively rely on their own analytical faculties, they can inadvertently begin to perceive themselves as uniquely enlightened, detached from the perceived masses who operate on less sophisticated levels of understanding. This can lead to a condescending view of those who hold different beliefs or operate from different frameworks, creating an invisible barrier that hinders genuine dialogue and empathy. Consider, for instance, a scientist who dismisses traditional ecological knowledge held by indigenous communities simply because it hasn't been validated by rigorous empirical study. While scientific validation is important, this dismissiveness ignores the possibility that such knowledge, accumulated over centuries of direct interaction with the environment, possesses a depth of understanding that purely analytical methods might miss. The rationalist, in this scenario, risks becoming an island, surrounded by the vast ocean of human experience and wisdom, yet unable to truly connect with its shores. Furthermore, this intellectual isolation can breed a subtle form of spiritual arrogance. When one believes they have figured out the universe through sheer intellect, they may begin to view faith, intuition, or deeply held spiritual convictions as mere illusions or psychological crutches for the less enlightened. This is not a direct attack on religion, but a more insidious undermining from within the rationalist framework itself. Imagine a philosopher who systematically deconstructs every religious tenet, not out of genuine spiritual searching, but from a position of intellectual certainty that such things cannot be true. This approach forecloses the possibility of encountering truths that lie beyond the scope of their current understanding, effectively closing off avenues for spiritual growth. It's akin to a chef who refuses to taste any ingredient they haven't personally synthesized in a lab, thereby missing out on the vast culinary landscape of nature. This intellectual posture, while perhaps satisfying to the ego, ultimately impoverishes the individual's capacity for wonder and for experiencing the ineffable aspects of existence that often lie at the heart of human meaning. Conversely, the practice of intellectual humility, far from being a weakness, cultivates a profound capacity for genuine connection and a more nuanced understanding of reality. It involves actively seeking out diverse perspectives and acknowledging the validity of experiences that may not align with one's own intellectual framework. Think of a historian who, when researching a contentious period, makes a concerted effort to read accounts from all sides, including those of marginalized groups whose perspectives might be inconvenient or challenging to established narratives. This doesn't mean abandoning critical analysis, but rather enriching it by incorporating a broader spectrum of human experience. This approach fosters a more holistic understanding, recognizing that truth is often multifaceted and that no single perspective holds a monopoly on it. It allows for the possibility that deeply held beliefs, even those seemingly rooted in faith or tradition, may contain profound insights that transcend empirical verification. Building on this, the recognition that certain aspects of human experience lie beyond the reach of pure reason opens the door to a richer, more integrated understanding of life. When individuals remain open to phenomena that cannot be neatly categorized or explained by scientific materialism, they retain access to a wider spectrum of human potential. Consider the artist who, through their creative process, taps into emotional depths and intuitive insights that defy simple logical explanation. This artistic expression, while not strictly rational, can reveal profound truths about the human condition, offering glimpses into beauty, sorrow, and longing that intellectual analysis alone might miss. This is not a rejection of reason, but an acknowledgement that reason is but one tool in the human arsenal for apprehending reality, and that over-reliance on it can lead to a truncated and impoverished view of existence. By embracing a broader spectrum of human faculties, intuition, emotion, creativity, and even spiritual longing, individuals can move beyond the sterile confines of pure rationalism towards a more complete and authentic engagement with life. This integrated approach, where intellect, emotion, and spirit work in concert, is the very essence of Dostoevsky's vision for a more fully realized human being, capable of navigating the complexities of existence with both clarity and compassion. The pervasive influence of rationalism, as Dostoevsky so keenly observed, often breeds a subtle yet insidious form of self-imposed intellectual confinement. Beyond merely leading to analysis paralysis, it can manifest as an inability to appreciate or even acknowledge realities that lie outside its meticulously constructed logical frameworks. Consider the individual who, having embraced a purely materialistic worldview, dismisses the profound emotional impact of a piece of music or the aesthetic sublime of a natural landscape, reducing them merely to neurological chemical reactions or evolutionary survival mechanisms. This isn't a failure of intellect, but rather a limitation imposed by an over-reliance on a single mode of understanding. It's like trying to measure the depth of the ocean with a ruler designed for a teacup. The tool itself is inadequate for the task, leading to an incomplete and ultimately distorted picture of reality. Such a perspective risks rendering the richness of human experience, its capacity for wonder, its yearning for beauty, and its deep-seated spiritual impulses as mere epiphenomena, secondary byproducts of a purely material existence, rather than fundamental aspects of our being. Furthermore, this intellectual boundedness can foster a peculiar kind of social alienation. When one's primary mode of engagement with the world is through detached analytical observation, genuine interpersonal connection can become a secondary concern or worse, an inconvenience. The individual might find themselves observing social interactions with the same clinical detachment they apply to a scientific experiment, dissecting motivations, predicting outcomes, and evaluating behaviors based on logical consistency rather than emotional resonance or shared humanity. Imagine a social gathering where one person spends the evening mentally cataloging conversational patterns and analyzing the socio-economic implications of each attendee's attire, rather than engaging in spontaneous conversation or sharing laughter. This detachment, born from an overemphasis on analytical frameworks, can leave individuals feeling profoundly alone, even in a crowded room, because the very tools they employ to understand the world simultaneously prevent them from truly participating in it. The nuanced dance of human relationships, with its inherent irrationalities, its leaps of faith, and its spontaneous affections, often eludes those who insist on viewing every interaction through a purely logical lens. Conversely, embracing a more holistic epistemological approach, one that integrates intellectual rigor with emotional intelligence and intuitive awareness, unlocks a far richer understanding of both the external world and our inner lives. This integrated perspective acknowledges that human beings are not simply rational machines, but complex beings whose emotional and spiritual dimensions are as integral to their reality as their cognitive faculties. Consider the artisan who, through years of dedicated practice, develops an intuitive understanding of their craft that transcends mere technical skill. They might feel the wood grain, anticipate the tool's response, and instinctively know the precise pressure to apply, all without conscious, step-by-step logical deliberation. This intuitive knowledge, honed through experience and a deep connection to their material, represents a form of understanding that complements rather than contradicts rational thought. It's about recognizing that wisdom isn't solely the domain of the intellect, but can also be found in the quiet whisper of intuition, the felt experience of beauty, or the profound connection forged in moments of shared vulnerability. Building on this, the capacity for genuine empathy arises not from intellectual deduction, but from a felt resonance with the experiences of others. When we allow ourselves to step outside our own analytical frameworks and connect with another person on an emotional level, we gain insights that pure logic could never provide. Think of a therapist who, while employing established psychological principles, also cultivates a deep sense of empathy, allowing them to truly feel with their client. This empathetic connection, this ability to momentarily inhabit another's emotional landscape, is crucial for understanding the deeper, often unconscious, motivations that drive human behavior. It allows us to move beyond simply observing and categorizing towards a more profound and compassionate understanding of the human condition, recognizing that behind every action, rational or irrational, lies a complex tapestry of emotions, desires, and lived experiences that demand not just analysis, but genuine human connection. This willingness to engage with the non-rational aspects of existence is precisely what Dostoevsky championed, offering a pathway to a more complete and integrated human experience. Reflecting on this journey through the intricate landscape of human consciousness and the profound philosophical inquiries that Dostoevsky so brilliantly illuminated, a palpable sense of convergence begins to emerge. The disparate threads of our exploration, from the radical nature of freedom to the shadowy recesses of the human psyche, from the seductive siren call of rationalism to the agonizing problem of innocent suffering, all begin to weave together, forming a tapestry richer and more complex than any single strand could suggest. It's as if we've been traversing a vast, multifaceted terrain, and now, standing at a vantage point, we can perceive the interconnectedness of the paths we've walked, the subtle ways in which each vista informs the next. The very air seems to hum with a heightened awareness, a dawning comprehension of the intricate interplay between our deepest aspirations and our most profound vulnerabilities. The profound realization is not a simple summation of facts or arguments, but a shift in perspective, an emergent understanding that arises from the cumulative weight of these insights. It's akin to observing a complex ecosystem. Understanding the role of a single species is important, but it is only when we see how that species interacts with its environment, with other species, and with the broader climatic forces that we begin to grasp the true dynamism and resilience of the whole. Similarly, the ideas we've explored, when viewed in concert, reveal a foundational tension, an ongoing dynamic that shapes not only individual lives, but the very trajectory of human civilization. This emergent understanding invites a deeper contemplation, a quiet internal recalibration as we prepare to transition towards a final contemplation. As we pivot towards the final reflection, the accumulated observations point towards a singular, overarching implication. The intellectual frameworks, the psychological explorations, and the moral quandaries we've navigated have, in their collective resonance, illuminated a fundamental choice that lies at the heart of the human experience. This isn't a choice dictated by external forces or predetermined by circumstance, but an internal orientation, a posture adopted in the face of life's inherent complexities and profound mysteries. The insights gleaned serve not as definitive answers, but as guiding lights, illuminating the profound significance of the journey itself and hinting at the enduring questions that await our ultimate engagement. The cumulative effect of these explorations is a heightened sensitivity to the stakes involved in how we navigate our existence, preparing us for a concluding perspective that acknowledges both the formidable challenges and the enduring possibilities that lie before us. And so, we arrive at the precipice, not of an ending, but of a profound realization, a synthesis born from the intricate tapestry of Dostoevsky's thought. The journey through his labyrinthine explorations has revealed a core truth, not as a static doctrine, but as a living, breathing principle that underpins our very existence. It is the understanding that the deepest wisdom does not lie in the eradication of struggle, but in its profound embrace. We have traversed the dizzying heights of freedom and the crushing weight of its responsibility, peered into the abyss of human darkness, and grappled with the agonizing silence in the face of innocent suffering. Each exploration, from the paralysis of the underground man to the radical rebellion of Ivan Karamazov, has underscored a singular, undeniable reality: that our humanity is not defined by our triumphs or our comforts, but by our capacity to confront, to choose, and to endure. The seemingly disparate philosophical currents we've navigated, the critique of rationalism, the understanding of the divided self, the prophecy of totalitarianism, and the ultimate power of love, all converge on this singular point. They are not isolated observations, but interconnected facets of a unified vision. Dostoevsky's genius lies in his unflinching honesty about our inherent contradictions, our capacity for both sublime goodness and unimaginable cruelty. He doesn't offer us a map to a problem-free existence, for such a map would be a cruel deception. Instead, he offers us the courage to navigate the inherent complexities, to find meaning not in the absence of suffering, but in the transformative power it wields when met with conscious choice and ultimately with love. This love, we've seen, is not a passive emotion, but an active, sacrificial force, the very essence of redemption, capable of bridging the deepest divides within ourselves and between us. The true practice, therefore, begins not with the acquisition of knowledge, but with the conscious application of these hard-won insights. It is in the daily choices we make, the way we confront our own internal divisions, the stance we take against the seductive allure of simplistic ideologies, and the willingness to extend compassion even when it is undeserved. It is in recognizing that our freedom is not merely the absence of external constraints, but the internal capacity to choose love and responsibility over despair and self-deception. Dostoevsky's legacy is not a closed system of thought, but an ongoing invitation, a call to awaken to the profound depths of our own being, to engage with the world not with the detached certainty of the intellect alone, but with the full spectrum of our human experience, our reason, our emotions, our intuition, and our spiritual yearning. The path he illuminates is arduous, demanding a constant reevaluation of our assumptions and a courageous confrontation with life's irreducible mysteries. But within this struggle lies not futility, but the very essence of a meaningful existence, a testament to the enduring resilience of the human spirit, capable of finding light even in the deepest shadows. This is the enduring gift of Dostoevsky. Not easy answers, but the profound wisdom to live fully, authentically, and lovingly in the face of life's eternal questions.